Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 23 of the anime series Log Horizon 2. And this is, much as I speculated, this whole episode is really largely to do with Isaac protecting Linessia's little brother, Isilus. And basically, he comes under attack. They're trying to celebrate his birthday. And we find out that the king has basically decided to name him this, young child of 9, but he's very much mature for his age. He understands sort of the idea of hierarchy, and he understands the responsibilities of such a role. He's going to name him as the heir to the throne. And this is somewhat surprising because I thought they were kind of lining Linessia herself up for that particular role, but the king is basically kind of upset with her losing her temper at a couple occasions in the past. That to me is hilarious because it completely goes in the opposite direction that I thought when her character was first introduced that they were actually trying to go. And I also thought it was quite interesting, this sort of emphasis on, well, men need to be in command, versus women and everything like that. This show has been about and has displayed so many strong female characters. I almost feel like it's backpedaling to suddenly now acknowledge the fact that men need to be the ones in command, need to be in the ones, in the kingdom or as warriors and all this kind of stuff, have to be in the lead roles, and not so much women. I just find that to be somewhat, like I say, backpedaling as far as the equality of these characters, especially that is such a primary focus of this series, people of the land versus the adventurers, the human beings brought to this world, this elder tale come to life realm and all this stuff. And I also find it fascinating that we're kind of calling back on one of the earliest questions, since the day of the apocalypse, all these human beings awaking in this world. Suddenly it's now brought back into question, is the adventurers being in this environment ruining the environment for the people of the land? And from the early going, a lot of the emphasis of this series, which I've talked about at length in my videos covering it, has been about the idea of bridging the gap of peace between those two primary factions and trying to level the playing field. And Shiro has just gone above and beyond trying to create that with the round table, with laws, and, having people to enforce those things in this environment, all that kind of stuff. And yet, it seems like it was all for naught. It seems like the emphasis should always have been, we need to find a way out of this place because we're ruining it. We're killing it. It's almost a great sort of allegory for humanity on Earth, between fossil fuels and all this kind of stuff, natural, disasters that we create through our just not taking care of the environment and the ozone and all this kind of stuff. Is that the direction they're going with the story? I really don't know. Of course, we're calling back on things like Minami and, how the Yamato server has been broken into these two primary factions, and it seems like the southernmost is very much consumed with being that which is the containing of power. They want to be the ones who contain the power. There's even sort of talking about the heir of the legacy of Yamato and all this stuff, which basically coincides with this little kid Isilus being, named an heir. I guess they're trying to take him out because they want primary power. They want to have rulership over all of the Yamato server and all this kind of stuff. And we see basically that is why he is under attack. I love that sequence where you basically have Isaac, who's this tough, like, macho guy, and he doesn't want to have this kid tagging along. He's trying to teach the kid something by showing him a sword he might be able to use that would be best suited for him. The sword costs too much, and the kid's like, nah, I don't want it, that kind of thing. But then the kid wants to be trained. He wants to understand what the adventurers are like. He wants to know more about them. He wants to kind of get involved in a similar manner to his older sister Linessia and stuff like that. And we're getting inside the mind of the king as far as, well, the eldest daughter married off. She renounced her right to the throne. Linessia has disappointed me. She, I can't abide her as the heir to the throne. And so this kid is where it's at. Basically he is the focal point of whatever next chapter will come, whether the adventurers leave this environment or not. He is going to be, again, the legacy of this entire sort of environment. And to see sort of Isaac finally warming to him and actually training him, and, you know, sword training with wooden swords and everything, finally bringing back that sword he originally told the kid to use, and the kid makes a little jab about, wow, Isaac, you really don't know much about money, you know, that kind of thing. I love that. I love that there was a rapport between them in such a small amount of time that I could believe in, and that I could, you know, sort of just get kicks out of, because as far as I'm concerned, you know, we haven't really followed either of these two characters for a long time, and sometimes it's a little bit, you know, abrasive to try to get into a couple of characters that are very newly introduced. When we started focusing on like Rudy and Toya and Minori and all of their group, they became the primary focus episodes back. At first it was a little disjarring because it's like we really haven't invested enough time in these characters, and I like that they got over that sort of crutch by peppering in the last couple of episodes Isaac and Isalus and everything like that. So by the time you get this episode and you're seeing them become the focus, you're getting into it. I like that rapport between them, which solidified that even more. And the idea that, you know, Isaac had this earring that was like a warning device to know that these guys were going to try to assassinate this little kid by poison and all this kind of stuff. And then the badassery of Isaac just unleashing havoc on all of these people of the land who, again, these are holdovers of those we've seen previously where their levels have been upped and upped and upped, and they're stronger than normal and all this kind of stuff. All predisposing this idea of a pending war. It all goes back to that. And the factions are more clearly allocated in this episode as being North versus South, kind of. And by the end, there's that shocking, just, I got goosebumps because it's the first time in this series that suddenly, you know, something just momentous happened on an earth-shaking, earthquaking level. Basically, all of the people of the land are suddenly falling unconscious from the kingdom where Isaac is to Akihabara, and this is something, you know, Shiro has been trying to make some sort of effort to create a communication device to the moon, a lunar communication device, and he's basically told, you know, no, it would take 3 times over the last years of, you know, monetary intake for Akihabara alone just to try to build this thing, let alone get it working. And there's apparently these remnants of a TV studio in another area that is going to be the sort of focal point, I guess, as we move into the next episode, because there is some signalage coming out of there that they might be able to utilize for communicating with the moon. And it's kind of like that one last strand of hope Shiro has now that all these people are falling unconscious, and he, again, begs the question, do we need to get out of here? Do we need to go back home? Are we ruining this environment for these people and all that kind of stuff? All of these things are tantamount by the end of this episode, and it was just a compelling watch for that. And it was very enjoyable. It was, you know, there was kooky elements and stuff. Once again, Tetra, instead of, you know, sort of shipping herself, and now Sugu, now she's shipping her into Lanessia, Tetnesia, or whatever she's calling it, and wanting to have an idol squad with her, all this stuff. And so there were definitely highlights of this episode. There were definitely action-packed elements, and then at the end, you have it capped off with this monumentous drama. Can't wait to see where we go in the last couple of episodes for this series. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 23 of Log Horizon 2, if you've seen it. And how do you think this is all going to play out? Is Shiro going to succeed in getting back to their original home? Are, you know, the adventurers stuck here for all time? And will they have to make the best of it? And even harder core now, bridge the gap between people of the land and the adventurers, the human quotient, if you will. I mean, it's up for grabs as far as I'm concerned. I have no idea where this is going to go by the end. And yeah, I'd love to hear your theories in the comments below. So otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.